We are all in this together. That's how I opened my statement in the legislature today in what was an unprecedented emergency sitting. I was one of 24 MPPs in the House to pass two pieces of legislation in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The first, a bill to provide job security for people who have to self-quarantine or care for a loved one to ensure that they don't lose their job and to ensure that they don't have to provide a sick note in order to have time off. We also passed a bill that will allow municipalities to continue meeting by teleconference if need be, and to remove bylaw restrictions that in some cases prevent the 24-hour, 7-day-a-week delivery of essential goods that we need to supply people. One of the points I made in today's debate on the COVID-19 legislation, response legislation, was to just say we need to quarantine partisanship right now. I believe Ontarians expect us all to work together. In a time of emergency, they expect elected leaders to put their partisanship aside and put the people of Ontario first. And that's exactly what we did today. I think this week certainly wasn't the week, March break, wasn't the week that many of us expected. But I did come into the legislature on Tuesday. All four party House leaders met, including some additional independent members, to go over the legislation, to go over the process together, because in order to pass legislation in one day and the way we did it requires unanimous consent. It only takes one of the 124 MPPs in the legislature to say no. And I thought it just showed a lot about all of us, that we were all able to work together and get this passed. I appreciate the fact that the government accepted one of the changes I made to the legislation around job protection to expand the definition of individuals who would be able to access those protections, to include any family member, including extended family members who are caring for a loved one. They shouldn't lose their job. But the one thing I did remind the government today during debate was that these pieces of legislation are only the first step. We have more to do. And while I deeply appreciate the supports announced by the federal government this week, and I appreciate the fact that the federal government and the provincial governments are working together, we will need to do more next week when the legislature comes back. For example, we need to provide free child care for all essential workers. While they're taking care of us and protecting us from the virus, the least we can do is make sure we take care of their children. We need to make sure that infrastructure investments and supports are available in First Nations communities. I've had food bank operators tell me that their shelves are running bare, and they need income and financial stabilization support to ensure that we can feed the most vulnerable in our community. I've had shelter workers reach out to me saying that they're deeply concerned that they don't have enough space to safely house the unhoused in our shelter system right now. That's unacceptable. Healthcare workers are telling me that they need more supplies. We need more investments in frontline healthcare and in being able to adequately test people for COVID-19. But most of all, what people are telling me is they need basic income support. We need a basic income security program to help people get through this crisis. And again, while I support the announcements made by the federal government, many people tell me, especially gig workers and contract workers and self-employed, are worried they are going to fall through the cracks. And the Ontario government needs to step in and make sure we fill those cracks so nobody in Ontario during this crisis falls through those cracks. And I'm willing to roll up my sleeves, work with each and every member of the legislature from each and every party in the House to ensure that next week, when the financial update happens, that we have the adequate financial supports to help people, to help frontline healthcare workers, and to make sure nobody falls through the cracks during this crisis. I believe that's what the people of Ontario expect of us, that's what they want from us, and that's what we need to deliver.